I'm 70 years old now, and there are mornings I wake up already tired, not in my body so much as in my remembering. You reach an age where the past doesn't feel behind you anymore. It sits right next to you, like an old man on the bus who won't stop talking. I live alone, have for a while. That wasn't always the plan, but plans are soft things. They bend without making much noise. I don't say this because I think my life was a failure. It wasn't. I worked hard. I was responsible. I did what I thought a decent man was supposed to do. That's part of what makes this harder to explain. When you're young, mistakes look loud. They come with arguments, slammed doors, endings you can point to. The mistake I'm talking about didn't look like that. It looked reasonable. It looked mature. It looked like patience. I kept telling myself there would be more time. In my 30s, I was busy, not unusually so, just enough to feel important. I had a job that asked a lot from me, or at least I thought it did. I stayed late more often than I needed to. I said yes to things that could have waited. I liked being needed. I didn't think that was dangerous. I married young. She was kind, steadier than me. She had a way of noticing small things. When I first loved her, that felt like a gift. Later, I treated it like background noise. We talked about traveling, about slowing down one day. Later, I'd say, when things settle. Things never really settled. They just changed shape. Our conversations became shorter without either of us deciding that. I'd come home tired. She'd already eaten. We'd sit in the same room and talk about nothing important. I thought that was what long marriages looked like. I didn't mistreat her. That's something I want to be clear about. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't unfaithful. I wasn't reckless. I just wasn't present. Present sounds like a small thing. It isn't. It's the difference between someone feeling accompanied and someone feeling alone in the same room. There were moments she tried to tell me, gently, not with accusations, with questions. Do you still like being here? Do you ever think about us anymore? I answered those questions like problems to solve instead of feelings to sit with. I reassured her. I explained. I promised improvement at some later date. Later became a habit. By my 40s, people started telling me I was successful. I believed them because it was easier than asking what that word actually meant. Our friends drifted off, one couple at a time. Busy lives, kids, moves. We stopped being invited to things, or maybe we stopped going. I don't remember exactly. I told myself that closeness fades naturally, that this was just age doing its work. I didn't notice how quiet the house had become until the quiet felt permanent. She developed a way of sighing that wasn't dramatic, just a small release of air, like letting go of something you no longer expect to hold. I noticed it, I just didn't follow it anywhere. The years moved faster after that. They always do. Days stayed long, years shortened. We grew polite with each other. You don't see that coming when you're young. Politeness between spouses, careful wording, no risk. When she got sick, it wasn't sudden. It was one of those diagnoses that comes with plans and binders and appointments. Manageable, they said. I stepped up in all the practical ways. I drove her. I kept track of medications. I learned the words the doctors used. I was very competent. What I didn't do was talk about the fear sitting between us. I didn't say the things that felt awkward or overdue. I still thought there would be time once the crisis passed. She was tired more often. She slept facing the window. I slept facing the door. Somehow that felt symbolic later, though I didn't think about it then. The night she died, it was quiet. No last speech, no final clarity, just a hand that relaxed and didn't tighten again. I stood there afterward and felt something I didn't have a name for yet. It wasn't only grief, it was realization. Grief is about what you lost. This was about what I never fully showed up for. In the months after, people checked in. At first, they brought food. They said the right things. Then life continued, as it should. I learned how many conversations in my life had depended on her, how many connections I'd let her maintain while I focused elsewhere. Evenings stretched. I'd turn on the television just to hear a voice that didn't belong to me. I started thinking back, not to the big moments, but the small ones. Times she'd asked me to sit with her. Times I'd said, just a minute, and meant it. A minute can become a lifetime if you let it. I realized then that the mistake wasn't choosing work or responsibility or ambition. It was choosing them automatically without question every time. I assumed relationships were durable by default. That love, once established, could survive neglect. That's not how it works. Love needs witness. It needs to be seen, not just felt. In my 70s, you don't get many chances to rewrite things. You mostly reread. I see now that I lived as if the present was a hallway to something else. I didn't sit down in it. I passed through. There are men my age who talk about regrets like they're souvenirs. They joke about them, shrug them off. I don't know how they do that. Some mornings I set an extra cup on the counter without thinking. Habit is stubborn. It outlives us. If you're over 65, you've already noticed how quickly a year disappears. How people's names start arriving in the paper more often than they used to. You don't need fear from me. You already know time is limited. What you might not know is how quietly it slips away when nothing seems wrong. The mistake I made was waiting for clarity, waiting for a signal big enough to force change. It doesn't come like that. It comes as 1,000 ordinary evenings you assume don't matter. It comes as listening halfway, as postponing conversations that feel uncomfortable. You don't feel the cost until there's no one left to pay it with. I used to think providing was the same as loving, that being reliable was enough. Reliability matters, but it's not warmth. Warmth requires attention. It requires choosing someone even when nothing urgent demands it. I don't say this with bitterness. I had good years. I laughed. I was respected. But respect doesn't sit across from you at night. If I could speak to my younger self, I wouldn't tell him to work less. I'd tell him to stay longer in moments that felt small, to answer questions honestly, even when the answers were inconvenient. To notice when silence started doing more talking than words. Now when I walk through the house, I move slowly, not because my legs are weak, but because rushing feels pointless. There's nothing ahead I'm late for. I talk to people at the grocery store more than I ever did before. Small exchanges, names I won't remember. It's not enough, but it's something. Loneliness in old age isn't dramatic, it's steady, it hums. You don't collapse under it, you carry it. If you still have someone who asks you questions, really asks, don't answer them with plans. Answer them with yourself. If someone wants your attention, not your solutions, give it while you can. Attention is the one thing you can't leave behind later. I'm not asking anyone to panic or reinvent their life, just to notice where they're assuming there will be more time, because one day, you'll wake up and realize the waiting is over. Not because things improved, but because the opportunity quietly closed. I live with that knowledge now. It's not crushing, it's just heavy, and it sits with me every morning like an old man on the bus.